Did Mark Golding diss his Jamaican wife, or was he being insensitive? No respect for Jamaican majorities. Hey, my people, I hope you are all doing fine. Skywalker here to take another quick look at the Mark Golding racist claim and the irony behind it. At least, considering that he is usually the one who initiates the conflict, saying and doing the questionable stuff that reek of racism or disrespect for the general Jamaican masses. For some reason, this white British man seems to think that by some universal code, he has a right to insult the integrity of our people and our constitution, and we can't say or do anything about it. Talking about international observers who will automatically put him in the right when he is wrong. In America, they call this white privilege. That's what they call it. I met many like him in America, but I never expected it back home. More traitors are in Jamaica than in America. Don't let the fact that Marcus Garvey came from here fool you. There are the curry of the Maroons and nannies that catch Paul Bogles for hanging, and they come a dime a dozen. That's why white racist people are comfortable here, even as less than the 2% against the 98. Many Jamaicans bow for chicken back, but my uncle said long ago that anyone that ate the rest of the chicken should eat the back too. So him no want none. Keep the chicken back. Big up Mr. Crawford, the genius from the chicken back and zinc fence party. My people. After every wrong that Mark Golding does, after every lie he tells, he compounds the issue with more wrong doing, more demeaning our people, and more lies. This time, even his own Jamaican wife gets dissed by the words he spoke in public. But he believes that is good for her, as if she has to be satisfied with margins he put her in with his superior dictates, typical of an insensitive Bokramasa. Yet he is the one to cry foul all the time. You know that type, right? You know that type. Lying and mischievous. If they were born in London, specifically London, they say they were born in Jamaica and now their ancestors just turned black and came from Africa on slave ships instead of from Europe with slave whips and chains. And Mark Golding is using his own chain already and flashing his hand like a whip, shouting, "Get wicked pan them!" The white man chains a slave in public, and he believes that who vexed a racist. Mark has the key for the chain in his pocket, people. What difference does him having a black wife makes? Remember that, judging by Mark Golding's Buckramasa legacy of a slave owning family, and with him demonstrating Buckramasa behavior, it is not about anyone being racist. It's simply that we must observe and take care who we will trust. We must do our due diligence. It's about our race. Not every white man is an Edward Siaga whom we could trust. Why is Mark Golding here with a British passport and his father was a British spy? Mark Golding claimed that members in the JLP are racist towards him. But it seems more like a defensive tactic. Golding keeps making racist moves. Nothing beats him putting a chain on a black man. But afterwards, he is the one declaring that he was racially attacked. Golding was trying to prove he could never be racist by explaining that his wife and three children are Jamaicans. Red flag, right? At least for those that know their history. Racist white persons use the connection to a black woman and even children as cover up. It's a common assault. It's the first thing you do. Who would know the circumstances surrounding his relationship anyway? We only know what we see or hear from his mouth. We know that some of the most racist slave masters in history had black wives and mistresses, but they called their black children bastards and sold them into slavery. Well, if you don't know, you know now. Abraham Lincoln is a popular example. He and others like him did not flinch to sell these children, right? Mark Golding's insensitivity to the history of how things are is in itself questionable. The things he says and do to a person in Jamaica who shouldn't have no reason to trust him, coming from a family legacy of slave owners, right? Your head have to be tough, understand this, right? A man who came from prison for robbing his brother multiple times, right? Imagine. You see this guy come from prison because he robbed his brother multiple times, right? And now you see him going to his brother's house and you say, are you planning to rob your brother again? And he says, and he says, he is my brother. Why would I rob him? Would that make any sense to you? From Mark Golden telling you that he has a black wife, he's the son of slave masters. Would that make any sense to you? These are people that had black wives and mistresses and still sell their own children to slavery because the children are bastards. Man, some rule goes. Look, before I even get there, the same way. Oh, you wouldn't trust the guy who robbed his brother, who says it's his brother, he wouldn't rob him. The same way you couldn't trust a white group of slave owning people that historically showed horrible racial biases against their mixed children, right? My grandfather, recounting his experiences with his own white father for simply being darker, was the worst horror story I ever experienced. I remember days when my grandfather used to tell me these stories and how it affected me. And imagine he was the person who went through it. And the worst part is that the darker the child was, the more, I mean, the more horrible he was towards that child. The fact that Mark Golding's grandparents literally owned many slaves and even got compensation for losing these slaves to emancipation means that it would not be prudent for any Jamaican to be a believer based on the fact that his wife is black. These white people got reparations for having to free our people. Hello. We got nothing, but he is not satisfied with what he got to loot from Finsack. He wants to be our ruler now. Abokamasa. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. They got enough in slavery and he got more in Finsack. What more does he want from us? Too many white folks sold their black children and called them bastards too. My grandfather's father would have sold him, so it's close to home for many Jamaicans. And many of them got with black women by sexual abuse. In fact, even if it were minors, they would abuse them and expect no consequences as they would believe that they own them. The history is not far from us and it keeps repeating by us seeing white people that demonstrate similar behaviors as those in the past, just as how Mark Golden demonstrate some of those Buckamaster tendencies. A British man who was born in London but comes to Jamaica behind all sorts of lies and claiming he was born here and that his ancestors came as slaves too cannot be trusted. This makes him seem like a darn spy or something. Some kind of British bull trying to destabilize Jamaica or something. Britain is known for these kind of stuff. If you do not come to our people with the truth, then you come to deceive. We have no reason to believe that a white man is deceiving Jamaica for the benefit of Jamaicans. Make that make sense? Huh? Is he here deceiving Jamaicans for the benefits of Jamaica? Born in London and talking about he's born in Jamaica and all kind of foolish stuff like that. This has never happened in a thousands of years. No, never. In in fact, in the last 10,000 years, or say six, because he's white. In the last 6,000 years, there was never a case of a white person having any good intention for black folks. So why would you now believe that him coming here tricking us is to benefit us? Huh? White people deceive black people only to rob them of something, not to serve them. Plus, Mark Golding comes from the house of the slave masters to rule over Jamaicans, and you run behind him after you curse Yaga. Remember, you curse Yaga, and now you're running behind Mark Golding. And you curse Yaga, who had no such history of being the descendant of slave masters. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Huh? You would hate Siaga, but it's Mark Golding you're running behind. Jamaican Judases. Make that make sense. And this is not race has nothing to do with racism. It has something to do with you knowing your history and has an obligation to protect your legacy, your children. Huh? This entire Naman Manly party selling out for chicken back and zinc fence. You all see the man telling these lies, and you all know they are lies, but you think these lies should make you trust him over our own. Every comrade knows that Golding is lying, even if their brain cells are dead. But why sell out brick walls for zinc fence and concrete houses for cardboards? History will repeat itself if you don't mind sharp. Because 100% of the time the white man had bad intentions and were doing badly, right? 100% of the time. So why are you gambling on him planning to do right? You are lined up behind big stone asking for chains around your necks about nothing na go on. Join a hard program and get paid, man. Go join the hard program. Or go on a hard, and if they know sign your power and course and give you money mountain, a lie bro God I tell. Right? Andrew Holness has everything tied up in Jamaica, so he cannot run. He has to fix the country for his children. Ma Golding has nothing here, not even real citizenship. Plus, he is white and his children are black. Go to history and see how white enslaver I want to how should I white enslaver class folks. Right, that's the right way to put it. See how white enslaver class folks usually handle that situation of having black children. And when they screw up the country and ready to go, what they will do. Go back to history and see how they deal with it. All Golding wants is money for him and his Tapanaris friends to spend in foreign countries, while houses fall down in Jamaica and old ladies drop and broke them line. But Mark said them all right and him and a doctor. We all know the truth about their chicken back and zinc fence politics that Golding is doing. He cares not about the country. His heart is not here. You stop let these men turn you down. Go and join heart or check for other opportunities. They are there now. It's not like before. Nothing in Golding's attitude shows respect for our sovereignty, our constitution, our rights, or even his wife's heritage as an authentic Jamaican. And it comes back to what I said. Just because his wife is black does not mean that Mark is not who he is. disrespecting her heritage. That was what I listened to him do. While Mark Golding was claiming his wife as proof of him not being racist, he was demeaning her very right as a majority and not a minority citizen of Jamaica. It is so natural for Golding to do the disrespectful thing, but he hates being disrespected. If you want to entrench yourself in other people's country, like Jamaica, for example, as a British bowl to control and destabilize with your British citizenship, one of the first decoys would be to get a Jamaican wife. Therefore, it makes no difference to us. It is no reason to trust you, your lying mouth, and the lying comrades trying to outdo you with lies and propaganda. Now you have Ian Hales who told lies on innocent, hardworking Jamaicans in Westmoreland, now telling it on the entire Water Commission. This only means the lies get more humongous, but the media cannot see them. I could not smile when Golding called his wife an African Jamaican as opposed to simply being a Jamaican. The fact is that she is already in the near 100% majority, right? So how does she come to be referred to as an African Jamaican instead of just as a Jamaican? Had she been in a minority group, then referring to her as African Jamaican would not be such an embarrassment, an insult to her legacy, her nationality, and her race. Ma Golding is the first to bawl for racism. Then answer this. Why, for example, can a white American majority citizen be simply an American? When you see a white person in America, he's an American, but you are an African American because you are minority, right? So let me ask the question again. Why, for example, can a white American majority citizen be simply an American, but a majority black Jamaican can't be plain Jamaican in Jamaica? Are you racist or why are you tripping, Mark Golding? Why can't your black wife receive the same rights and respect in her own country as a white person in his or her country receives? Now, to you, Judas comrades, explain why Mark Golding does not treat the black and white issues equally, even though his wife is black. Explain. You heard it from his own mouth. Is it because black people do not have rights to their countries where they are the majority authentic population unless it is in Africa? Is he concerned that it is unfair for his wife and children to be accorded less universal rights or values than other races of men? I said that many white men sold black children into slavery. I am not saying that he is one of them, but I am saying that his argument is redundant, at least when you see all the facts. He impugns his wife's rights, not necessarily because it was intended, but because of who he is naturally. He is from a slave master's culture, and his very culture is racist. He cannot naturally be fair even to his black wife and children because it is not his culture. It is embedded. He will do racist stuff and you will have to point it out all day. Bunting is too busy looking at the prize to point out the natural integrities to Mark Golden. Even if he did not want to be racist, he will still be doing and saying racist stuff each time he opens his mouth to defend himself against being called racist. It's his slave master culture. It's who he is. Mark Golding is no Edward Siaga. Not every white man is the same. A slave master mind cannot change overnight. Just because the guy has a black wife now, what white slave masters in England think Jamaicans deserve is exactly what Mark Golding was taught to think Jamaicans deserve, including his wife. whom he calls African Jamaican, to be treated as the minority and labeled African Jamaicans in a country where they are the majority is what white British leaders would want for Jamaica, and Mark exposed the side he is on. If his wife's right is that insignificant to him, what would he think about you? Mark is the party who should be labeled in minority mode because he is a minority, a white person in Jamaica, and there are others who are white Jamaicans. I tell you that Mark's case seems unique. Maybe he can't not be British and British alone. He has to be British and British alone, not and never Jamaican. If she was white, you could say she is a white Jamaican, for she would be in the minority. The fact that she is black means that she is simply identifiable by the plain title of Jamaican. Not every not African Jamaican, unless you speak from the British perspective and think we don't own our country. The British Crown counts Jamaica as part of their wealth and sees our land as Crown land. Mark Golding is a British Buckramassa. If Jamaica belongs to England, then the Jamaican majority will not be authentic Jamaicans. That's exactly what came out of British man Golding's mouth. If your wife goes to live in America, she would be in the minority and more identifiable as an African American. The norm is already the norm. A Jamaican is a Jamaican. But if she were white or Chinese, then to identify, you would say white Jamaican or Chinese Jamaican, for this is not a majority group. Is Golding opposed to black people being given the majority privileges in their own land? I am sure he agrees with the American whites being given their majority privilege is in America, right? And they are Americans, while we are African Americans, right? See, that Buckamassa thing inside of Golding can't come out and will keep exposing. How does Golding expect to lead Jamaica into becoming a republic with British citizenship? You know that is impossible, right? You know that is impossible. He cannot have British citizenship but be leading Jamaica into a republic. No British citizen can ever go up against Britain, for that is treason. So why is he here then? Is he here to block Jamaica from going republic? He is already finding all the excuses to block the process and keep it in gridlock. He is blocking the government of Jamaica right now as we speak. And now there is a program that the government is starting and looking for a universal effort, and he already has a press conference to block it. My people, because we have come so far as a people, because we still have mountains to climb, and because we cannot compromise the goal over foolishness and trusting people that have never once meant us any good in 1,000 years, but who no believe say Buckamas has changed. Think on these things, my people. Peace out.